So guys, I have now finished the main story for Star Wars Outlaws. The game actually officially releases today, but I was playing through early access thanks to having the Ultimate Edition of the game. And because of those 3 days, I managed to get through it fairly quickly. Now, I won't be going into spoilers in this video, but today I am going to be talking about 5 things that I love about the game. And then my next video will be talking about 5 things I don't like about the game. So these next 2 videos are essentially going to be a bit of a review for the game. But before I do get into the 5 things that I love about this game, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on so you don't miss out on any more Star Wars Outlaws content. There's going to be plenty more to come over the next week or two, so make sure you don't miss out on any of that. So number 1, the first thing that I really love about the game is the story. Now, I won't be going into any story details, so don't worry about spoilers there. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I will say the story didn't actually go how I was expecting it to. It's kind of hard to say about all of that stuff, obviously, without going into spoilers, so I might do a bit more of a discussion on it on a live stream or something in a couple weeks time or whatever. But yeah, I really wasn't expecting the story to go the way it did, and I do feel like it got better as the game went on. After the first 2-3 hours, I was definitely keen on the story, but it didn't really grip me as much as I was hoping it to. But the more I kept playing and the more I kept doing, I just continued to really enjoy it, and it really does just get bigger and better as it goes on. And as a very passionate Star Wars fan, there really is a lot in this story for a fan like myself, so I feel like they absolutely nailed that personally. And from start to finish, it was a pretty wild ride, so that is definitely up there with number 1, and it probably is one of my favourite Star Wars stories from the last few years as well. And in terms of Star Wars gaming in the last sort of few years, if you look at all of the single player games, it definitely is in the top 3. After I've let it gel a little bit, it could even be my favourite story, honestly. We'll just have to wait and see. That is how good it actually is to me personally. But going into number 2, the next thing that I really enjoy about this game is just the usage of Nyx and overall stealth gameplay. Now, I've always been a big fan of stealth games. Things like Splinter Cell, myself and my brother used to do the co-op mode in Splinter Cell Conviction, I think it might have been. And I love being super tactical in that, discussing what we're going to do, where we're going to go, you know, and just taking people out simultaneously and stuff like that. I've always been a big fan of that in games. So having that in a Star Wars game, honestly, was a huge amount of fun for me. I feel like at times throughout the story, there are times where it obviously tells you not to trigger the alarms. So that was definitely a really challenging time, but it was a lot of fun. But I also did then like how if you got out of stealth, it didn't really matter too much because there were no alarms, so you could just go loud if you wanted to. But then also just making use of Nyx to distract people and then punch them from behind or attack them so that you can take out someone else and then go for them. Stuff like that I've just really enjoyed. So I feel like they really did nail that stealth element. Number 3 on the list is just ultimately how much stuff there is to do. Like I said, I've now finished the main story, so it's kind of a like what's next for me side of things, but I didn't do a huge amount of side quests and I didn't complete all of the like key items list. So I've got tons of items to find, huge amount of collectibles left, a ton of side missions. There's obviously like all of the contracts that you can do to build up the reputation with the crime syndicates. So I could easily spend, I reckon, 20 plus more hours just playing this game just to 100% it. Now, I don't think I'm going to worry too much about 100%ing it, but I would like to find all of the collectibles and just do all of the side missions and stuff like that, just to get as much story content as possible. So I really do like that about this game. If we take a look back to Jedi Fallen Order, that game was pretty linear. It had a great story and the gameplay was awesome, but the end game for it was pretty terrible and there was just like nothing to really do. You could go back through the maps and find cosmetics and whatnot, but going through the same part over and over again that you did for the main story just wasn't hugely appealing to me, so I still don't think I found absolutely everything. I've got most of it, but thankfully Respawn did improve it for Jedi Survivor. The game was still fairly linear. It's not an open world game, but Kobo and Jeddah in particular are pretty vast, so I've had a lot of fun doing that, and thankfully there are actually some side missions in the game as well. So there's actually just quite a lot that you can do at the end of Jedi Survivor, which was a really enjoyable experience, and all of the bounty hunting stuff as well. That was awesome. But again, it still isn't a true open world game, and it's not like hugely expansive. So having a game like Star Wars Outlaws that's a true open world, there's just so much much to do and whatnot. I'm just really, really happy about that. So I think I probably will do a few streams where I am just doing side missions and getting collectibles and stuff as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Number 4 on the list is a little bit more of a simpler thing, but honestly it made such a big difference to me, and that is just the fact that you can fast travel from one planet to another without having to go back to the Trailblazer. In Jedi Survivor you can fast travel, but you have to go back to your ship to go to a different planet to then fast travel around that planet, if my memory serves me correctly. But being in the deep depths of the jungle in Akiva, to then have to go and do a mission in like Kijimi or somewhere on Tatooine, being able to just fast travel from that jungle to Mos Eisley or somewhere else in Tatooine honestly was so good, because there were kind of times where I just couldn't be bothered to travel that much, and the cutscene going from space to ground and ground to space and so on took quite a bit of time as well, so I just wasn't hugely bothered about doing that. So I'm very glad and grateful that you can just fast travel from planet to planet. The 5th and final thing that I really enjoy about this game honestly is just the databank filled with lore. Like I said, I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I love learning about everything in the game, whether it's a particular arcade game and learning about the origins for that, or a piece of food, an animal, all of the characters and so on. I absolutely love that about Star Wars games, and that was something that Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor did really well as well. There's obviously that data bank that shows you all of the enemies, the flora, the fauna and so on. So I've always enjoyed reading that and collecting all that stuff. So the fact that Outlaws has that same kind of thing as a Star Wars fan is just awesome. I think it's one of those things that just every Star Wars game should have. Obviously if it's multiplayer, it doesn't have to, but every single player Star Wars game should have this in my opinion. So I'm very happy to see that in Star Wars Outlaws. Now there are plenty of other things that I really do enjoy about this game, but these are sort of 5 main things for me that really stood out. Let me know what you guys think about Star Wars Outlaws without posting spoilers in the comments as well. The game has just officially released today, so I don't want anyone getting spoiled. That is going to be it from me today. Make sure you are subscribed for more Star Wars Outlaws content. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.